Hi, my name is Hannah Wolf, and I'll be doing a presentation on domestic violence. So here's my slideshow. But before I get to the slideshow, I wanted to talk about my goal for this speech. So my goal is to raise awareness for domestic violence. I know a lot of people don't understand what it is or don't know what it entails, and maybe have never experienced it, so they don't necessarily know much about it. So I also wanted to make people aware that it's been estimated that 70% of domestic violence cases go unreported. My goal in this speech is to inspire people that have been through these types of situations to tell someone and get help, as well as anybody that's not been through it to really watch out for those signs and really know the signs and symptoms of domestic violence and try to help those that need help. So 18,000 women have been killed since 2003 by an intimate partner due to domestic violence. So this is a big problem. I just want to direct you to my slide, which is what is domestic violence. According to an article on the ARWOC, domestic violence is abuse by a spouse or intimate partner. Physical abuse is the use of physical force, which we all know that one. Sexual abuse means any forced sexual activity. Emotional abuse includes threats, constant criticism, push-downs, controlling access to money, and controlling activities or other abusive behaviors. So, in 2014, 16,700 people reported one or more domestic violence crime to Colorado law enforcement. So this is right here where we live. This is not across the world, across the United States. This is right here. And the reason why this is such an important topic for me is, as a child, I suffered from domestic violence at the hands of a close family member, and I also witnessed my mom and other family members having abused, and emotional abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse. So this is really an important topic to me. And so my thesis statement is, essentially, domestic violence can't be categorized as just a personal crime because victims of domestic abuse often suffer from depression, stress, and poor work performance, which in turn affects the health of the economy and the job forces as a whole. So, therefore, domestic violence must be identified as a public national crime, not a personal crime. And so the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about are some examples of domestic violence. So, some examples of domestic violence are emotional abuse through mind games, name-calling, put-downs, isolation from family or friends, monetary abuse by withholding money or being prevented from getting a job or holding a job, actual or threatened physical harm, that one's pretty obvious, sexual assault, stalking, and intimidation. Domestic violence essentially affects every area of the victim's life, and it bleeds over into every aspect and affects their overall quality of life and their outview on everything around them. So, another thing I wanted to talk about was that young women aging from 18 to 24 are more likely to experience domestic violence by an intimate partner. Male victims are more likely to experience domestic violence from a family member that's not married to them or anything like that. And like I said before, domestic violence can seep into other areas of the victim's lives. For example, domestic violence causes most people to suffer from depression and suicidal thoughts and actions. It often negatively impacts the victim's ability to perform well at school or work. And without additional money or monetary value of anything, victims can often find themselves trapped in an abusive relationship without any money or means to leave. So next, I want to address some of the statistics involved with domestic violence. So the highest percentage of domestic violence incidents occur at the hands of a boyfriend or girlfriend at the time. This percentage is as high as 38% for females and 30% for males. According to Vaginesos, 2016, women lose 8 million days of paid work per year because of the abuse perpetrated against them by current or former male partners. This loss is equivalent to 32,000 full-time jobs a year. Studies show, as well, that 3 to 4 million children per year, ages 3 to 17, are at risk for domestic violence each year. Some of the effects of domestic violence on these children victims are depression, anxiety, fear, self-blaming, rage, embarrassment, humiliation. All of these effects I've personally experienced in my childhood, as well as bleeding over into my adult life. Some of the physical ailments of domestic violence in children, and possibly adults, are bedwetting, vomiting, diarrhea, loss of concentration, stomach aches, and headaches. So, with all this information, I really want you guys to know that this really cannot be a personal problem. We have to realize that this affects everybody. It affects communities, it affects families, it tears families apart. Even if you've never been through it or nobody you've known has been through it, it's affecting your life in some way. And so that's why we need to all come together and really realize that this is a public issue. This is not an individual-based issue. So that's why I wanted to raise awareness for this issue. And raising awareness for domestic violence can literally save people's lives. The more people that are aware of this quickly growing epidemic, the more people there can be to fight against these perpetrators and help these victims of these crimes. Domestic violence is a topic that hits very close to home for me, along with millions of other Americans and people around the world. Chances are very high that you may have a loved one in your life that has experienced domestic violence at some point or is experiencing it right now. And you may not even realize it. You may not even know it. They may seem to have a perfect family. They may seem like they have everything together, but you don't know what's going on inside of closed doors. So that's why it's really important to know the signs and the real slight signs and symptoms of this terrible, terrible thing that domestic violence is, so that we can start to realize and help people that don't necessarily know how to help themselves or do, and they're too afraid. So with that being said, there are ways that you can help a loved one who's experiencing domestic violence. One of the main ways is to actually know the signs, like I just said. Some of those signs can be your partner keeping tabs on you at all times, almost in a very controlling manner. Preventing you from seeing friends or family. Even if it's just certain friends or family, that's still abuse. And threatening or intimidating you. Destroying your possessions or threatening your pets or other members of your family. Another thing that you can do to help yourself or other people is to reach out to somebody for help. I know that's a really scary thing because I have witnessed it myself and I've experienced it myself, so I know it's hard to ask for help. But once you ask for help and really receive that help, you will realize that it was all for the better. It will be hard, but that's what needs to happen in order to not have a life filled with just abuse for the rest of your life. So the last thing that can be done is to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Thank you guys for listening to my speech, and I appreciate everybody, and I look forward to hearing all your comments and criticisms about my speech and what I can improve on. Thank you so much. Bye.